Coming to paperback and e-readers in 2021, John Haynes, Taking Care of Business. The man who rules the world breaks in a brand new partner to help him take care of business in this action-packed, all-new John Haynes series adventure. Get John Haynes, Taking Care of Business in 2021 at online booksellers everywhere.
Last Saturday, there was a tragic shooting in the Jefferson parish of New Orleans when an individual entered a gun store and decided to go on a shooting spree after being told by staff at the store to unload the loaded firearm he had brought into the gun store. Now, your 27-year-old Joshua Williams entered the gun store with his brother and his two children to purchase some ammunition from the gun store. However, after entering the gun store, he was told by staff there to unload his loaded firearm, and instead of him unloading that loaded firearm of the ammunition that was in it, he decided to turn the weapon on staff at the store, and as a result, two people, a customer and an employee, wound up losing their life before Mr. Williams wound up being killed by staff at the store and customers who returned fire. Now, when I take a critical examination of this incident in the Jefferson parish of Louisiana, I see another incident that fits the pattern and profile I talk about regarding beta males in my book, The Man Crisis. And when I look at Joshua Williams' behavior, it fits that pattern and profile as related to the chapters where I detail how some males out here have a serious problem with male authority and male authority figures. Now, these males have a problem with male authority and male authority figures because they come from female-headed households and they're used to submitting and deferring to women instead of men. So whenever a man tells them what to do, they don't see the man as a leader or an authority figure, and what they do is they seek to challenge that man's leadership and authority in a place, and that's what I believe happened here with your Joshua Williams. I believe one of the men in the store told him that he had to unload that loaded firearm, and I believe that triggered the anger that your Joshua Williams might have possibly been simmering and boiling in for some time, and then he wound up exploding in a rage at that man for challenging him and asserting his authority. And when that man challenged him and asserted his authority, he decided to take out this loaded weapon to show him that he was not going to submit to a subordinate. He was going to put this subordinate in his place, because that is primarily how your beta male thinks regarding a man telling him what to do. Because when a man tells him what to do, many of these beta males, they wind up starting to get triggered and they wind up exploding in this rage. So a lot of people said that he just went off, but the reason why he probably went off was because a man went out here and asserted authority with him in this store, and then he decided to go out here and participate in one of the spectrum of violent behaviors, and one of the more extreme as related to the spectrum of violent behaviors, because to murder someone inside of a store all because they told you to do something shows how completely out of control this beta male was. But when it comes down to beta males, this is just par for the course with them. They do not like being told what to do by male authority figures. They feel threatened by male authority figures, and whenever they get told what to do, that's when many of them either simmer and boil in anger, or they lash out at that individual. Now, the owners of the store had every right to tell this man what to do. It was their business, it was their property, unfortunately, when it comes down to your beta males, they don't respect people's territory because many beta males do not understand the concept of boundaries, and they don't understand that whenever you enter somebody else's space, you have to respect their space. So this beta male, on entering this gun store, thought he could just come in here and do as he pleased, but you just can't do whatever you want in somebody else's business and somebody else's space. Unfortunately, the way many beta males think is, I can do whatever I want because mommy lets me do whatever I want. But when it comes down to the real world, that's not how it works. And this is another problem with a lot of these beta males, is that they enter into other people's spaces where they are controlled by the authority of males, and they think they can do whatever they please. And whenever they get challenged by those authority figures, that's when those men lose it. And that's what makes your beta male an extremely dangerous individual, because he does not respect the authority and the space of other men, and he goes out here looking to disrespect those men and their spaces. And that's what we have happening here in this store in Louisiana. We have a textbook incident as related to the man crisis, but many people won't see it as an incident in America's ongoing man crisis. Many people will just see it as an isolated incident, but this is not an isolated incident. This is an incident that fits in a larger picture of incidents, and all of these incidents all follow a certain pattern as related to the behavior, a certain profile to the individual, and many of these individuals, they all usually come from a certain type of background. They come from the background of either being raised in a single mother household or a household with a beta male father. And because they have been raised inside of this household where they have been raised with a female authority figure or a beta male who is submissive to a female authority figure, these males do not know how to function and navigate the world as men, because a man who understands how to function in the world understands that when he enters another man's space, he has to respect the rules of his space, like that Jefferson gun outlet. The Jefferson gun outlet had certain rules for entering the facility, but this individual didn't want to respect the rules because he didn't understand that when people in authority create rules, they are for everyone. And when you have authority figures, you're supposed to respect them. And when you enter somebody's space, you don't have a right to do whatever you please, and you have no right to lash out at those individuals if you don't like the rules of that facility. What you do is go to another business. But beta males believe they can do whatever they please, and this man thought he had every right to go into the store and murder these people. And what's really troubling about this incident is how selfish this man was and how so caught up in his emotions he was. He wasn't even thinking about the safety of his brother or his his brother's two children. He never thought they could have gotten caught in the crossfire as related to this shooting. And that's, again, another thing that makes beta males extremely dangerous. Many of these males, they are very selfish, and when they get caught up in their feelings, they don't think about the safety of others. They don't think about the health of others, and they put everybody's life at risk because they're so caught up in their feelings about something that they don't think about anything else but their feelings. And that's one of the more dangerous aspects of the beta male, is that, he feels and he does not think. And because he feels, all he does is act on those feelings impulsively, not thinking about the consequences that could impact others. And this male, because he was always feeling about the slight he had to take about this man telling him to unload a gun, he went into a rampage where he wound up murdering a woman who was a customer in the store, and he wound up murdering an employee before many people in the store wound up taking his life. And he never once thought about the two little kids and his brother. It was all about how he felt at the moment, and he didn't understand while you have feelings, you don't act on your feelings, because a man who has been raised with a father in his life, he's going to understand while he has these feelings, he's not going to act on them, because he's been taught how to work through his emotions, and he's been taught to hold back on acting on his emotions. Unfortunately, beta males are never taught how to hold back on acting on their emotions. These men act on their impulses, and that puts people in danger, just like what happened here at this Jefferson gun outlet in New Orleans. And when I take a further critical examination of this incident in this Jefferson Parish Jefferson gun outlet, it really proves the point that gun control is not the answer to dealing with violence, because in this incident, this man had a legal firearm that he was licensed to carry, but the problem with this male wasn't the gun. The problem was his inability to be able to navigate through his emotions, have the discipline and self-control to control himself, and shows me that it's not about gun legislation, it's about a person learning self-control, because this incident practically proves the point that beta males, once they get a firearm in their hands, they will wind up acting impulsively and doing harm to others. Because here we have an incident where we have, again, a legal gun owner, and this gun owner, because he was a beta male, acted on his emotions, and it was him acting on his emotions that was the problem. It was not the gun. So people oftentimes talk about we need more gun control. No, we need people raised to understand having self-control, because those who have self-control understand that you don't take a firearm and use it impulsively like this individual did. Because you can have all the legislation in the world, but if people are not raised to have discipline, self-control, and character, they're not going to go out here and do right if they own a weapon. This, again, this whole incident proves that we don't need gun control. We need people to be raised with self-control, because we had gun training back in the 50s, and we had lots of fathers in the home, and crime was at an all-time low. But when you have males who come from single mother households, you can give this male from a single mother household a weapon that he can legally own through regulation, and what will happen is he will go out here and use it impulsively to do harm to others, showing us all that the root of many of America's problems have to do with this man crisis that's going on all across the country. A man crisis many don't want to acknowledge, because to acknowledge the man crisis would say that America's women have not been doing a great job raising our sons into men, and the whole theory that feminists have presented as related to boys being able to be raised without their fathers in the home was a complete failure, because we can clearly see that in this incident somebody failed this boy, because for him to go into this gun store and explode in a rage shows us all that the problems were not the gun that in this man's hands. The problem was this man was not raised to have any sort of discipline or self-control, and because he had no discipline or self-control, he became a man in crisis, and this man in crisis wound up taking the life of two people. before losing his own life in an incident inside of this gun store. And what's really troubling about this incident is most people will look at it as a gun issue and not really see it as the man issue we really need to address. Now, if you want to learn more about what makes beta males go out here and explode in the rage to participate in violent incidents like this, you can pick up my book, The Man Crisis, on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. You can also find The Man Crisis on Smashwords, the iBook Store, and Google Play. And if you want to see me make more men's issues videos like this, you can donate to my Patreon, my PayPal, or my Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe.